Peace family, this is Coach Chris, your intuitive holistic coach, coming to start my very first video. It is going to be on the topic of childhood trauma healing, and I have a book called Death and Rebirth, a comprehensive guide to healing childhood trauma. So we are going to first discuss we're going to define childhood trauma, and then we're going to discuss the different types. In my book, I mentioned 6 types of childhood trauma, and then we're going to discuss also how to recognize them, how to recognize the signs and symptoms in your child or in a child, that you see. So first, the definition. Childhood trauma is defined as an event or events that occur between the ages of 0 and 18 and are scary, dangerous, violent, and pose a threat to the child's life and our physical, mental, and emotional integrity. Now, there are multiple forms of childhood trauma, but like I said in my book, we discuss 6. We focus on 6 childhood trauma forms, which include emotional, physical, sexual, stress caused by poverty, separation from a parent or caregiver, and witnessing violence/bullying. Now, with these different types of childhood trauma, I may do a different video on each one, possibly at a later date, but right now we're going to briefly discuss each one. But like the emotional, we'll start with emotional childhood trauma. We experience emotional childhood trauma when something traumatic happens, something happens that as a child you can't process, you can't understand, and like something violent or dangerous occurs, and it overpowers the child's ability to cope. So, and the child doesn't have an adult or anyone to assist them with processing those emotions, because most times in life we repeat cycles. The generations repeat cycles until someone decides to stand up and say, it stops with me, it's not happening again, or they become aware and become conscious, because most people are reactive. So that is why I'm doing this series, and that is why I wrote this book, because we have to become aware and make conscious decisions and be mindful, because a lot of things are being transferred through our DNA from generation to generation, and cycles are repeating, and it's no longer an option. So for those people who want to make a change, who want to rise, who want to elevate, who want to evolve, this is important. Childhood trauma healing is extremely important to reach your highest heights, and to be able to enjoy life. Because if that child within you cannot enjoy life, if that child does not get the healing that it needs, you will never truly be able to enjoy life. You'll always feel like something is wrong. That wound will always be there. So you need to go ahead and get the work done and heal it. So with emotional, that's why some of the results as well, people who have had emotional childhood trauma, they grow up to be, emotionally immature. Like if you hear people refer to emotional intelligence, a lot of times they are not emotionally intelligent. They cannot connect. They disassociate. They become narcissistic sometimes. There's a lot of different outcomes of emotional childhood trauma, unhealed emotional childhood trauma. Okay, and then we can move on to uh, physical. So, physical childhood trauma occurs when a child is physically hurt or harmed through hitting, blunt force trauma, or penetrating trauma. And penetrating trauma is like a knife, a pencil, something like that. It's not the sexual, and we'll get to that. But that is, something actually pierces the skin, the body. That's penetrating trauma. And so, some children are, and some of us adults, some people have gotten stabbed, some people have gotten um, hit with things that have pierced their skin. Um, Sometimes, emotional trauma as well can be penetrating. It hurts to the core. So, but the physical trauma is being hit, being beat, um, some people were burned with cigarettes, some people, a lot of different 555 on the clock, change is happening, family. But a lot of different, there's a lot of different aspects of physical trauma for children. And that's why a lot of people still beat their kids to this day, spankings, whoopings, whatever you want to call it. And it's not an easy thing to, um, like with all things, you need to heal. You need to get to the root of the problem to figure out why you feel it is necessary for you to beat your child, why you feel it's necessary for you to spank your child or hit your child. Now, when you come from tough love, or you come from an abusive household, or you come from getting whoopings and spankings, it's easy, like I said, we repeat cycles. It's easy for you to, repeat that cycle. We learn by example as humans. We don't learn as children mostly, but as adults as well. We learn by example. So when you were a child, there was a study, a video that went around where they had kids and they were given dolls, and they were, you know, monitored, watched to see what they would do or how they would react with the dolls. And they had some little black kids and they were whooping their dolls. Children just repeat cycles. I can remember my childhood when me and my nieces and my sisters used to play teacher. We used to play mama. The two younger sisters was always the mama, the teacher, and the older sisters was the children of the students. And we were not nice teachers. We were mean. We were yelling at them. We were not nice. And it's because, we were following the examples of what we saw. And we didn't get gentle parenting. And as a parent myself, that's how I was able to write these, because I'm learning gentle parenting, I'm practicing gentle parenting. And it's not always easy when your natural programming is tough love. So that's another thing, the physical. And in the book, it tells you different ways to get past that, to heal from that, to, you have to work on yourself. You have to heal your inner child. And it can be difficult to heal your inner child while you're raising your own child or your own children, because they do certain things that trigger you because they are a reflection of you, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not. They are here to bring things up for you to address. Um, Source, God, your creator, puts them there to bring things to the surface for us. My son definitely is teaching me balance. He's a Libra. He's been teaching me balance since he has gotten on this world. He's definitely been teaching me balance. Okay, and the next childhood trauma is sexual childhood trauma, and that occurs when unwanted kissing or touching is forced on a child. We all know what sexual things are. So when when a child is raped, molested, sexually abused, you know, it does something. It kills a part of them. Some children detach. I definitely did as a child. Um, and that's another another coping mechanism: detachment, disassociation, uh, and that's mentioned in my book as well. So when that happens, the child is not aware. The child doesn't know about these things. The child is not aware of anything sexual until they're introduced to it. Children are not aware of a lot of things until they're introduced to it. And that can really confuse a child. It can really upset a child. It can disconnect the child from themselves, from their parents. Because a lot of times when people do that, they tell the child not to mention it to their parents, or they're going to hurt or harm them. So they also instill fear into the children with the act, and afterwards with the threats. So that's a part of the emotional childhood trauma as well. Um, a lot of these traumas are wrapped up together. Most times people don't experience just one or two, they experience multiple childhood traumas. So you have to heal those things, and you can do it all at once. Just take your time. But with the sexual childhood trauma, it can lead to promiscuity, it can lead to STDs, HIVs. All of these childhood traumas can lead to health issues if they are not resolved, if they are not processed properly and healed. Um, the next one is stress caused by poverty, childhood trauma. So basically, that's when a child is in an environment full of pollution and toxins, or they have parents that are who work more than they're at home, and parents have to do this to be able to pay the bills, especially now prices are going up, inflation, the recession, everything. So parents are not able to be home with their kids, and the kids basically have to a lot of times raise themselves. And also food insecurity, little to no health care, overall insecurity, and feeling unsafe. A lot of times that's why a lot of other traumas come into play too, because parents have to work and they don't have child care, they can't afford child care, so they let a neighbor or a family member or someone else watch their kids, and then the other childhood traumas come in: molestation, excuse me, physical childhood trauma, because a lot of times when people don't want to watch your kids, they mistreat your kids. And you don't know about it because they threaten your kids or something like that. And some parents, they went through these things as well. And sometimes their kids will tell them and they just ignore it. They repeat the cycles that their parents did to them. They ignore it. They say that the child is lying. Multiple people that I have spoken with, multiple people that I have, that are close to me have went through this. Um, and people that I have coached and I have helped have also gone through this as well. It takes a toll on you, and it makes you feel very unsafe, and um, your root chakra gets unaligned and unbalanced. Hormones get unbalanced. Everything spiritual and emotional is connected to the physical. So a lot of these things, they are very important. The healing of these wounds are very important to move forward and progress in life in a healthy and effective way to reach your highest heights and your full potential. The next, the next childhood trauma mentioned in my book is separation from a parent or caregiver. Excuse me, and that occurs when a parent or guardian is removed from the child's life willingly or unwillingly, and the child can't cope with the separation. Um, so that can happen with the parent dying, that can happen with the parent leaving, with the parent being forcibly removed, for multiple reasons. That can happen with the parent being there and just like physically being there, but being mentally and emotionally absent as well. Because a person can be there with you and be in a whole other place mentally and emotionally. But separation from a parent is a big thing right now in society and in a lot of communities and for lack of a better word, black community, if you want to call indigenous, native, whatever you want to call, we have different names. But in the melanated, heavily melanated community, um, it's a big thing. And in other communities as well, an absent parent, father or mother, because there's some grandparents raising kids, there's some aunts and uncles raising kids, a lot of kids are in foster care. So you can have valid reasons for, if you are the parent that still has uh, custody of the child, if you can have valid reasons for separating your child. I know a lot of people have valid reasons, myself included, for separating your child from another parent, or if you're a grandparent or an aunt and uncle or just a family friend that the child was separated from the parent, you can have valid reasons for separating that child from that parent, because sometimes it is better and safer for the child to be separated from that parent until they get themselves together and they can be a better parent for the child. It's still traumatic for the child, regardless whether it was for the best of them or not. It's still traumatic for them because they don't know any better, because they just want their parent, because they don't they can't see the full picture. All they know is what they know. So you, as a person who still has custody of the child, or still has the child under your wing, you have to explain it with the child, you have to discuss these things with the child, and you have to just keep reiterating to them and affirming them that they are loved, that they are accepted, that they are important, and that the other person just has work that they have to do to be able to have access to them. And that's all that you can do. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't feel guilty or anything like that. If it is for the best, for the safety of the child, then you are doing what you're supposed to do as a caregiver, as a parent, as the person who is supposed to be looking out for the well-being of this child. But you have to remember to affirm them, to let them know that they are loved and that they are accepted and that they didn't do anything wrong, that nothing is their fault. Because a lot of times children, when they get separated from a parent, they internalize it and they begin to think that it's their fault, that they aren't lovable enough, or that they did something, they didn't clean up enough and let them know that it's not their fault. And they'll heal from it and they'll get past it at some point. Everybody has their traumas, everybody has their cross that they have to bear. But your job is to make sure that you give them that love that they need. You don't have to overcompensate. Just give them the love that they need, protect them, and make sure that they feel safe and secure with you. And the rest will fall into place. Give them the tools to heal. Let them read this book, Death and Rebirth, the comprehensive guide to childhood trauma healing, and do meditations with them. Just make sure that they have a secure foundation. You are their security blanket at this point. All right, and the next childhood trauma is witnessing violent trauma. Witnessing violent trauma. Yeah, so that was our bullying. So witnessing violent trauma, it occurs when a child has witnessed incidents that were scary and dangerous for them and are others like war, natural disasters, or terrorism. So a lot of kids witness violent trauma, whether it is in their household, whether it is at school, whether with the bullying, whether and that can happen in a household or at school. If you have siblings, the parents bullying parents, we do that and we don't know it because we don't know any better until we know better. But witnessing violent trauma is a big thing, because a lot of kids, they see things like I mentioned earlier with the child. There was a study where they gave children dolls and they just watched them, monitor them, and they had some kids, some little black kids, and they were beating the dolls because that was what they saw, that it was their experience. So witnessing violent trauma, the kids, they repeat things. They're like, little robots. They repeat what they hear, they repeat what they see. So that's why you have to monitor and make sure that you are not giving them, exposing them to things that they won't fully understand, and that will be detrimental to them, and it can hurt or harm them or other people. So when you have a child that has witnessed those things, you have to explain to them what they saw, explain to them, why they shouldn't do it, why this can hurt someone or hurt themselves. And you have to give them solutions. You can't just tell them, no, don't do this, without giving them a solution, without giving them another way to express that energy, or to get that out of to transfer that energy, basically. If you study alchemy, you'll know you have to take the dark and turn it to light, turn that lead into gold. And that's also with bullying. Like I said, at schools and neighborhoods, wherever, bullying occurs in the home as well. So you have to explain things to them. You don't want them, when children experience bullying, or they witness violent trauma, they can repeat those things, or they can become the predator. They either do one or two things. They either become the prey and just keep allowing people to hurt them and abuse them, or they become the predator and they become the bully. They become the violent person. So you don't want your child to be either one of those things, hopefully, in this world. Or you don't want to become one of those things, because as adults, people have chosen sides. People have become, until you know better, you can't do better. So that's what we're here for, to shine light on these things so that we can do better and be better. And we can give our children the tools to do better and be better as well. Because a lot of us weren't given those tools. We had to go and figure this out on our own. Excuse me. And with natural disasters, like I went through Hurricane Katrina and a bunch of other hurricanes after that, but Hurricane Katrina was definitely, it definitely affected me and a lot of people in a lot of huge ways. Okay. We were uprooted from our homes with like really no notice. We were uprooted from our homes. We didn't know if a lot of people were dead or alive. We saw a lot of tragedy. We saw a lot of hurt. A lot of pain. Didn't eat for a few days. No electricity, no working plumbing, things like that. That is very traumatic. And then you're uprooted from your home, from your family. You don't know, you lost some family. We couldn't find my mama for a while. We were with my second oldest sister and her kids and her husband. And me and my sister, my other sister found my mama, and I would see her like crying as an adult. But she found my mom. We found my mom and my grandma, and me and my other sister strangers drove us. And that's a huge thing, because in New Orleans we couldn't go with strangers. We always had to go places together, but we didn't have anything, so you have to depend on other people. And strangers drove us from, I think my sister was in Pearland, Texas. That's where we ended up with my sister and her husband. And then we went to, my mom and my grandma ended up in San Antonio, Texas. So we ended up in San Antonio. And it's just wild, y'all. Going through a natural disaster and having to just start fresh and not know anything or not know anybody. That's a whole shock in itself. But you go through it, you learn, you figure it out. We didn't get counseling, we didn't get help. We had to just figure it out. And I definitely disassociated and disconnected. And it was like everything when I moved to Texas was like, I always, in my back of my mind, I was going back home, not knowing I didn't really have a home to go back to. And everything in Texas was like a game. It was like, I'm not even supposed to be here. This is not forever. I'm not going to be here, so I don't really care. This is, and but I'm grateful for the people that I met and the connections that I had, and but it was definitely a shock, and it's hard for children to process that and get through it, especially with no counseling and no guidance, and any adults as well that's going through it, and they didn't have counseling, they didn't have guidance, and they had to figure it out on their own too. So how are they going to help you when they're trying to figure it out? It's just like healing your childhood trauma while you're raising kids and trying to heal theirs. It's difficult sometimes, but it's possible. You just, while you're healing and you're learning things, you teach your kids. While you're doing yoga, while you're doing meditation, you teach your kids. While you're praying, while you're walking, while you're exercising, teach your kids. If you change your diet, you change your kids' diets as well. Y'all have to elevate and evolve together, because you are their first teacher. You are their safe place. So you need to give them the tools to assist them along this journey, because if you don't do it, the world is going to do it, and the world is going to chew them up and spit them out. Okay, so the next was that the last one? Okay, yeah, so that was the last one. That was the last one. Now, all these forms of trauma have a huge impact on brain development and psychological well-being. Survivors may develop emotional issues such as extreme anxiety, anger, sadness, survivor's guilt, disassociation, the inability to feel pleasure, ADHD and or PTSD. And that's so I was survivor's remorse came in my head, but that's the same as survivor's guilt. But a lot of these things, and a lot of health issues as well, a lot of health issues and a lot of mental issues are a result of unhealed childhood trauma. And once a lot of mental issues are spiritual issues. Once you heal your emotional and spiritual body, you can heal your mental and your physical, because a lot of physical ailments result from unhealed spiritual, emotional, and mental. Everything works together. Everything is interconnected. So you have to heal your body from the inside and out. You got to go within, and once you start doing your inner work, your inner healing, things will start to show up, like with your diet, with your mental, with your spiritual. Things will start to heal and work together. Your body is going to know that it is time for it to start to work together again, because it's separated for so long, that disassociation. Now, with these different types of childhood trauma healing, like I said, it's only 6 that I mentioned in my book, but there's multiple different, like drugs, things like that happen with kids, as well. Those are things, and with separation, sometimes kidnapping happens. There's a lot of different instances, but the ways to, wait a minute, because I was supposed to mention ways to recognizing the signs and symptoms. So we're going to go over that too in and out, because I don't want the video to be too long. But ways to recognize the signs and symptoms of childhood trauma healing in ourselves and others. So ways to, well, in my book, it explains the possible emotional, cognitive, behavioral, and physical manifestations. Emotional manifestations are separation anxiety, sadness, fear, emotional unavailability, insecurity, intense feelings, panic attacks, etc. There's multiple. Cognitive manifestations are amnesia, impaired memory, altered states of consciousness, problems with language development, focus, learning, and processing new information. And behavioral manifestations for childhood trauma are self-harm, unsafe sexual habits, practices, excessive risk-taking, avoidance, poor hygiene, being detached, distant, out of touch with reality, being overly cautious, eating disorders, etc. Now, and the physical manifestations are recurrent physical complaints such as headaches, stomach aches, increased disease, increase or decrease in weight, And these internal traumas manifest to the physical, if unhealed, as hypertension, diabetes, stroke, cancer, etc. All different mental illness, all different kinds of things they manifest. These are signs and symptoms to let you know that something is going on within. Like when you go to a doctor, they ask you, okay, what symptoms are you having? That's how you know that something is wrong. I had poor eating habits after Hurricane Katrina because of the food that we had, the lack of food that we had in the Superdome, and the type of food that we had and the way that they treated us, our own military treated us during that time. It was traumatic. It was extremely traumatic. A lot of us are still dealing with PTSD from that time. A lot of us are still dealing with unhealed wounds from um, that natural disaster and the ones following it. Because, you know, there's always something going on this where the United States is always in a state of emergency in some parts, anywhere. But childhood trauma is very important. It's very important to heal those wounds because it affects us and it affects the people around us. Because if we are not healed, we are bleeding on each other and we are passing those wounds and those unhealed wounds to the next generation. And we're passing those unhealed wounds off to other people, projecting onto other people because we have not done the work to heal those things. So now is a time to heal. Now is a time to grow. Now is a time to evolve. We are in an age of Aquarius. It's a time to heal, to grow, to evolve, and for the community to come together and help and assist each other on this healing journey. And you can do that with people that actually want to heal and grow with you. If you come into contact with people that you have experienced trauma from, people that you went through trauma with, and you're trying to heal, you're on your healing journey, and they're still stuck in victim mode, or they're still stuck, projecting and bleeding on other people, you will need to separate from them. You cannot stay connected to those people, to those energies, to if it's a job, if it's an environment, if it's a hometown. You cannot stay connected to that if you want to grow and evolve and to heal. That was a saying that says you can't heal in the environment that hurts you. You can't, family. You have to separate. You have to go and do your own thing and heal. And then you can come back later and reconnect with those people if they have done the necessary work and if they are in alignment with you and your path and your growth. If they are not, then you cannot. And it's okay to love people from afar. It doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean that, that's it, that's all. Y'all never have to speak again. It just means that you are no longer available to them in the ways that you were before. Whether that is you completely disconnect from them or you see them, you say hi, goodbye. You keep it surface level with them. What they say, you deal with them with a long spoon. That's what old people used to say. But you just have to assert your boundaries. That's another thing with childhood trauma healing. You have to learn to assert your boundaries. And a lot of times with childhood trauma, we don't learn boundaries because we weren't given that opportunity. We may have said stop. We may have told people, no, and they disregarded it. So our boundaries are unclear. Our boundaries are weak because that was stolen from us. So you have to learn to assert your boundaries. That comes with separating. That comes with affirming yourself. That comes with pouring love into yourself, so that you can feel confident enough. You can align your root chakra, your sacral chakra, your solar plexus chakra, You can get those into alignment. Those, a lot of people say those are the lower chakras, and those are, because they are the lower chakras. They deal with the tangible, they deal with material and things like that, sexual, willpower, things like that. But they are also necessary to succeed in this world. You are living in the physical material world. So if you just focus on spirituality and you just focus on evolving your intuition and things like that, those are important. But your root chakra, your sacral chakra, your solar plexus chakra, healing your heart chakra, all those things are important as well. Because if you don't have a solid foundation, all that other stuff that you've been working on is going to crumble. It's not going to be strong enough to hold the weight. So you have to heal, get to the root of your traumas, your wounds, and heal it. Don't just throw a band-aid on it and say, oh, I'll get to it later, because time keeps going. Time keeps ticking. And you want to get nip it in the bud now, so that when you do receive your blessings, when you do receive everything that's coming into you, you won't self-sabotage. Because that's another thing. If you have unhealed childhood trauma, you will self-sabotage. You will, because you don't feel worthy. That's another thing with your root chakra, with your sacral chakra. A lot of your sacral chakra has to do with your creativity, with your sexuality, your sensuality. And a lot of people's sacral chakra are blocked as well. But I have a chakra book as well. I'm going to link that in the description too, how to get in alignment with your chakras. But you have to heal these things. You have to get them into alignment, and everything else will follow, will flow. Your channels will be open for you to receive your inheritance, the things that you were been supposed to get in this lifetime, but you couldn't get it because trauma blocked everything for you. So that is it. That is all for this video. We will reconvene and we will get more into more topics. But that is it. That is all. Y'all can get the book. I have the physical copy on Amazon, and I'm working on the ebook copy. It will be coming out soon. So y'all be blessed. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. Respect yourself. And protect yourself in this world. And make sure that you are making yourself a priority before anything else. Take care of your kids. Protect your kids. And just have a great day. Heal those wounds, family. I love y'all. Peace.